All right, how is everyone doing? I'm Rich Celenza. Thanks for tuning into the Rich Celenza Show. WTF are you talking about? So I was actually just recently in a Barnes & Noble kind of doing some research on my last 120 podcasts, seeing my stats, what's getting the most responses. Also, I post my podcasts not only on different platforms for podcasts, I also post them on my YouTube page as well. So I was looking at that and I was kind of blown away because hands down my most popular podcast to date is one regarding the law of attraction. I did a podcast a while ago. It was like in my first 5 episodes. I don't even know if it was 4 or 5 or 6. And it was called, Is the Law of Attraction Legit or Full of Shit? I think is how I worded it. Legit or is it bullshit? Something in that nature. And I couldn't believe the volume that I got on that specific podcast. It still to this day blows everything away. And I just I found it quite interesting because I really haven't been doing anything regarding the law of attraction on my podcast or talking about it because for many, many years, that's all I used to really think about to a certain degree. I used to listen to hundreds of videos. I've watched the movie numerous times, read the books, all different books regarding law of attraction, besides just Rhonda Byrne's. But yeah, so I kind of want to dip into that subject as well, because obviously there's some type of interest there. And I'm just, what I wanted to do too is, I haven't even thought about that in so long. And like I was just kind of describing, I used to watch also videos on the law of attraction and go to sleep listening to things regarding that. And I still love a lot of that. I love kind of the positive energy that brings. And I still follow them on Twitter, some of them. So I see their updates or their posts. And I still like it. I think it's really positive, a lot of things. But what I want to touch base on this is, I'm going to call this podcast is, does the law of attraction work because it kind of, how do I word this correctly? Because I want to make sure. And again, like I said, I'm doing this all off the cuff, and I kind of like doing things like that where I don't always research something or really think about a subject I'm going to talk about, because I think sometimes when it's completely unscripted and just out of left field and I describe it, it's a much different, honest approach. So I think what I'm trying to say is, do people like the law of attraction because it's kind of a lazy way out or a lazy way to kind of do things? And no disrespect to the people who teach the law of attraction or people that love it and follow it. And I dig it, especially on a positive, energy type thing. But I do think what worked really well with the law of attraction and why people gravitated towards it, because a lot of people are lazy. And I think by having people sit around and saying, if I feel a certain way or believe something is going to come into my life, it will most likely come into my life if I kind of will it that way. And I'm here to tell you, I don't know if that's true. And I know we've all seen all these different, I don't know if you have or haven't, but I have all these disputes regarding, does the law of attraction work or does it not? I have a theory regarding law of attraction, and it's not wait for things, obviously, or necessarily even believe things are owed to you or coming to you. I'm actually the flip side. I call it the attack. If you want something in your life, you can't sit about it and just imagine it's going to come. You have to go attack what you want. And I don't mean attack it like to hurt it, attack it. What I mean is attacking something or putting yourself, what I call, in the right place at the right time, continuously, not just one day. You have to be consistent with it. If you want a great body, you have to consistently work out. And I'm not talking even for months. Years, program your mind, your body. If you want financial wealth, you have to condition yourself to become intelligent and how to make money, put yourself around money, learn from people who've made money, not just sitting in your house and saying, I believe I'm going to win the lottery, or I believe that all this is going to come to me. Because if you do not take action, and you hear about that, nothing is going to happen. But I think people kind of give themselves the pass to say, you know what, I am going to take action. But it's so minute and so weak that nothing ever prospers from it. And just say you want coffee and you're in your house and you've never shopped for coffee. Coffee is not coming to you most likely unless a friend brings it or unless you request it. You go to a Starbucks, all you have is coffee. You go to, something in that nature. You got to really look at it to simplify things. You go to where you want to be, and you go to where you want to get what you want to get. I teach that in my Mastering Self-Confidence program regarding men. I want to help them find the woman or women of their dreams. And I always say, don't wait for them to come knocking on your door, because I can assure you that most likely will never happen. What you have to do is find what type of woman you want, and then you have to go after them. Again, not meaning in a bad way, but going and putting yourself around those type of women and not being afraid. So again, if you like a certain type of woman, an urban type woman, get your ass into an urban area. If you like Latinos, hypothetically, and put yourself in an area where there's all Latinos. If you like Chinese, hypothetically, go to fucking Chinatown. I don't care. If you like Italians, hang out in Little Italy's. If you like Filipinos, whatever the case may be, the more you surround yourself and go after that and put yourself there, right? You got to kind of plant yourself. It's kind of like location. It's the same premise in your life. If you don't put yourself in the location, right, of what you're looking for, how is it ever supposed to prosper? If you're in the desert and you want to start a garden, it doesn't make sense, right? Kind of common sense, but I think a lot of people are in the desert thinking that they're going to build this garden. It doesn't work that way. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care what your belief systems are. You've got to start also, I think, going back to the secret, is stop being a dumbass. And also, a lot of the secret, which was interesting, is making people feel that they're very valued, which you are. No one's like you, and you should value yourself, because if you don't value yourself, nobody else is. But here's the thing. A lot of people overvalue themselves then. They almost start programming their mind where they think, I deserve this because of this. And I believe this should happen because of this. And if I do this, this is going to most likely happen. What I'm going to tell you is going to happen is probably a lot of what you're telling yourself is full of shit. You have to convince yourself you're not owed, right? You need to, how would I say this? You're not owed, but you deserve what you go after and what you get. Now, if you're in a family where they're extremely wealthy and they're giving you money, or things are coming to you like that, in that type of lifestyle, then that's a whole different ballgame. I'm not talking about that type of family background or different type of wealth, but I'm talking about regular people that struggle continuously, don't get to where they want to be. And a lot of times, again, they can become the victim, and they kind of use, I don't even know if that's a word, victimness, but they kind of become a victim thinking the more of a victim they come off, the more they're going to get from people, or they're going to cater to them or donate to them or all that type of shit. That only goes so far, I believe, in my personal opinion. Okay? And again, the law of attraction, if you flip it, because I think a lot of them want to first program your brain to convince yourself you deserve that again, right? I would flip it and say whatever you want at that moment. So they talk, I think, originally about a feather or something in the book. I can't remember, it was so long ago. Or something like you in your mind say, hey, I want to attract this to myself. And then you walk around and all of a sudden you find this feather and you're like, oh my God, this works, right? And I'm not saying that if that works for you, it works for you. But if you want a feather, go find a bird. Does that make sense? Like, flip it around. You go get what you want. You don't wait for what wait for something to come to you. And that point is the point I'm trying to make, is you kind of always have to be in attack mode for what you want. And you're most likely not going to get it very quickly. I can assure that. If you can't afford a new car, or if you want a Ferrari, a lot of times one or two things happen. You never get it, or you figure out a way how to get it. Now, there's a lot of different ways to obviously get a Ferrari. A lot of people get it too quickly, and then they can't afford the payments, and they lose it, right? Or they just never get it at all, like I was kind of, But if you get creative and you truly want a Ferrari, you have to figure out, again, how to make money, or figure out whatever you have to figure out to get that. Like, keep your eye on the prize. And again, that may not happen in a day. That may not happen in a week. It may happen in 5 years, 10 years. I don't know. But what I do know is you sitting on your ass, keep talking about wanting a Ferrari, looking at magazines, looking at images on Google, talking about it, maybe even, and here's the thing which I kind of dug, is when you kind of want something. So I'm just still using the Ferrari example. So you go to a car dealership like they talk about, and you imagine yourself first actually being in that car, you're driving your dream car, and then you go test the car, right? Then what the fuck happens? You leave the dealership, they tell you the car is $240,000 and it's going to be X amount of money down, or you may be able to lease it, probably not. You're going to have to pay your payments this month, or this amount a month if you do a payment plan, because most people who own Ferraris, I can tell you right now, they're not like shitting in their pants, like figuring out a car payment scenario, like what it's going to cost per month. And someone was just talking to me about cars because my dad's obsessed with cars. And they're like, hey, do you know how much the oil changes? It's $500 for this. Do you know if this goes out? I'm like, if you own that type of car, you're not worried about those type of things. That would be like you worrying about people that usually drive Ferraris or expensive cars or live a certain type of lifestyle. They don't think in those ways. That's like, say you brought something for let's just hypothetically say if you brought a cup of coffee, and it's not, you're not thinking about like how much it was. You just wanted a cup of coffee. That's very similar to a lot of people buying Ferraris. $500 to them is like $5 to you a lot of times. They're not worrying about a lot of times an interest rate. Some may, don't get me wrong, but for the most part, they look at that car and go, you know what? I want that car. I'm just going to get that car. Call it a day, right? That's kind of the mindset you really have to have. And back to wanting that car, right? You have to learn how to be creative again. That's what I think a lot of the law of attraction is becoming creative and figuring out a way to maneuver your life and your wants and getting them. And I think a lot of people on the flip side think the world is supposed to help create all these things to kind of, wind into your life, I guess you could say. And it's not usually like that. So when I do hear people saying the law of attraction is kind of a con, I see what they're talking about. And then I see other people who talk about the law of attraction working very well with them and then becoming successful after that. I can see that as well. I think there's two sides to that, very similar to religion. A lot of people, I see religion being unbelievably great for them. I think it changes a lot of people's lives for the better. There's no question about that. And the one thing I can't stand is like Christians bum rapping atheists or atheists bum rapping Christians, because I know a lot of atheists that are very successful and very happy with who they are and what they've done in their life. Regardless if they find religion or not, they still have, they have something that offers them life, and maybe they're grateful, maybe they're not, but a lot of times I think we just want to judge people because they don't believe in the same things we believe in. And obviously you can see that in politics now more than ever. But back to the law of attraction again, you need to also understand a lot of what the law of attraction is. It's not possessions, it's people. And if you don't surround yourself with the right people, and that doesn't mean just to get you what you need. So if you want a Ferrari, I'm not telling you all of a sudden out of nowhere start hanging out with guys who sell Ferraris or people that buy and sell them or any of those type of things. I'm talking about getting around people that are also that are creative like you, that can help you figure out a way on how to make money or make you into a better person, to make you believe in what you need to believe in, which is yourself, and also believe that whatever you want, you can actually achieve. Because if you don't have that foundation, if you could be the greatest person in the world, and if you're surrounded by all shitheads or people that are, I call them anchors, that are financially ripping your money out or emotionally taking a toll on you, or they're lying around you, cheating, stealing, it could be your kids, family members, colleagues, friends, whoever. If they're sucking you dry, how would you ever expect to achieve what you want to achieve? You can sit around all day and try to be the most wonderful person in the world, but if everybody else is around you is a piece of shit, how is that going to help you? And I call that being so deep in the shit you don't realize how bad it stinks. And I think there's tons and tons of people like this. There's a lot of great people, including a lot of my family members and friends, that are just in a horrific environment. If you don't remove yourself from that environment, how would you expect anything to come to you? And how would you also expect to go after anything that you want to achieve? Because a lot of times, a lot of these people, and we don't want to admit it, these people are holding us down. Now, I'm not telling you to turn on your friends or family members or colleagues or your job. That's not what I'm telling you to do. But again, that may come to that, but you have to figure out again, regarding the law of attraction, what you want to attract and what you want to reflect off of. People have to learn to push things away, and they don't have the balls to do that. They only look at things coming their way. Like, oh my God, this is going to happen and it's going to change my life, my family's life. It's going to change this person's life. It's going to do this. No, you have to change your life. That's what you got to do. And you have to learn to, like a clean slate. I call it turning the page in a magazine a lot of time. In my Mastering Self-Confidence program, I talk about this regarding women. And I don't mean that. And this goes for men too. Men wanting women or women wanting men. I talk about this regarding relationships. Every person you date doesn't mean that it's supposed to last forever. But also, life is a lot like turning a page in a magazine. This is just one page of your life, right? You're going to turn it the next day. What's that day going to be like? You turn it the next day. Something new keeps popping up, right? And that's kind of how you got to look at your life in different ways. How would I say this? Different chapters also are going to be happening in your life. But if you keep going into the same situation with the same people and you don't see any changes, that's on you. Don't expect them to change. And if you're not willing to change, again, nothing changes. My father used to talk about that all the time in the bar business. He'd say regarding an asshole that would start fights. He'd come in the bar, he'd start a fight. The guy would get the shit kicked out of him. He'd come back the next day, he was still the same asshole, right? No matter how many times he got the shit kicked out of him, an asshole's an asshole. A lot of times you're not going to change them. And you got to realize you're surrounded by a lot of assholes probably. Those assholes ain't helping you achieve what you want to achieve. And you're going to have to learn how to either reflect them, get them out of your life, or maintain it where they're not interfering with your life or making you feel you're not worthy or not helping you going after what you want to go after. It's that simple. All right, so I hope some of this stuff I'm saying makes some sense. I know sometimes I talk and it's a little weird and I get off base a little bit, but I come right back. But that's just the way my mind works. And I'm not here to bash on the law of attraction. I really like it, and I think it actually changed a lot of my life. But I was able to call myself out on a lot of bullshit regarding that. And maybe it was because I studied it so hard and I went so deep into it. And then me being raised in a very strong Catholic household, I did the same thing. When somebody keeps bogging me down with something, I immediately want to go to war with it. Because I think it's almost a form of brainwashing, and I think that's what I felt like in religion. So then I start trying to find the opposite. And it's just my nature. I guess I like just going to war with certain things. I'm not a guy who you could keep telling me things and I'm going to believe it. Actually, the more you talk, the more I'm going to try to figure out how full of shit you are. It's almost like a magician, the opposite of a magician. A magician kind of wants to, sleight of hand and kind of fool you and everything. And I think a lot of times when people talk to me, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to fool me into believing in their beliefs or what they want me to be or what they think I should be or what society should be. And I'm actually, when they're talking or when I'm going throughout my life, I'm like, no, I don't want to be like any of you. I don't want to think like any of you. Right or wrong, I want to figure out a way to what works for me, what's benefiting me, because we all, I believe, live entirely different lives. And we all go to bed at different times. We all wake up at different times, different meals. We have different girlfriends, wives, kids. Every component of our life is different from one another. So for people to tell me, especially religious figures who are really on my shit list all the time, to tell me how I should live or raise my family or what I should be doing, I want to slap them right in the face. I don't dig that shit at all. And that's the one thing I did like about The Secret. A lot of them, it wasn't about religion to a certain degree. Some was, and that's fine. I'm cool with that. But they weren't bogging you down, kind of using religion or religious figures to make you feel guilty. Or, I guess, make you feel like to live in fear or shame. And if you don't do this, this is going to happen. In the afterlife, to a certain degree, they didn't get really that caught up with that, which there's nothing wrong with believing, after you pass, you go to certain places. God bless you. You could believe you could go anywhere you want to go. And I haven't died yet, and I don't have enough knowledge to even describe that. I just know one thing. When I was younger, a coworker of ours who I love very much, who passed away, he passed away, I think, twice, and he went, and then he was brought back, obviously. And I asked him when he passed, because he had an illness a couple times, and they had to revive him. He just said he felt rest, and he saw darkness. He saw nothing. And then when he woke up, he had no idea where the hell he was at, and that happened twice to him. And I don't go by what he is saying. Maybe I don't think he was going to hell. I don't know if he was going to heaven. He just said he went nowhere. He just rested. And that almost gave me closure in my life. Now, I don't know when I pass away if that's going to happen or not. But it was very interesting because I sometimes just think we don't want to accept certain things, like at the end of life, that is the end, right? We all want to keep going on and on and on. I don't necessarily know if I want to go on and on and on. I don't, after I die, do I have to go to a place where after my kids die, we all have to be together there as well, or all my family members and all that? I'd love to see my family members of the past. Of course I would. But I was very fortunate to enjoy everybody for the time I got to enjoy it with them. So I just look at life as this. I'm not saying this is it. If there is a heaven, God bless. But if there isn't, I'm not going to be upset, and I don't let my afterlife rule my life now. All right? So that's just my opinion on it. You could think I'm full of shit and be like, Rich, you don't know what you're talking about. You better read the Bible again. You better do this or that, and or you're going to go to hell, or whatever the hell you think. I don't believe that at all. I don't believe I'm going to hell whatsoever. And I don't necessarily know if I'm going to heaven or not, because I talk about this all the time, especially if religious figures, if you talk about priests or certain people, if they're the ones who are going to heaven, I definitely would rather go to hell. I want to go where I feel like going. And heaven, to a certain degree, doesn't sound like the place for me. Especially a lot of people I know that are obsessed with religion or preaching that kind of are liars, or live all these different lifestyles, or pitch all this different bullshit. If they're the ones who are going to lead me to the promised land, I do not ever want to go with them. And that's the one thing, again, about The Secret, that they didn't really pitch to me a lot. And I like that. It was kind of cordial, and it was kind of a fresh outlook, and I really like that. So, like I said earlier, there's strengths and weaknesses to the law of attraction. And even if you think it's full of shit or not, just enjoy it for what it is. And if you've never read it, or, take some time to look at it, I think it's really got, overall, I think it's a really positive thing, just in my personal opinion. But don't be fooled by a lot of things they're saying regarding things coming into your life, because if you don't go after, again, what you want, you're never going to get it. I don't care what you do. You hear about the stories, somebody winning the lottery and all that shit, and I've talked about that in the previous podcast. People play the lottery all the time, and somebody's always got to win. At that point in time, when they win, a lot of times if they believed in the law of attraction, they're like, I believed in the law of attraction, I played the lottery, I won. Well, yeah, no shit. A lot of people win. You may be any type of religion. Just because you won and you believed in the law of attraction didn't necessarily make you win. Your number came up. Now, I'm not saying it didn't not make you win, and God bless you that you did win. But my point being is that may have not been the only reason why. But I don't play lotto, right? I'll never most likely win unless someone buys me a ticket. Now, if I did win lotto, if someone said, Rich, and I believe that I'm going to, if you believe so much in what you're doing, believe you're going to win lotto and don't play lotto and see if you win lotto. You're not, most likely, right? So it's kind of look at it in that form as well. Be honest with yourself, stop bullshitting yourself, and go after what you want to go after, all right? All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. If you get a chance, you can also check out my YouTube channel. It's just my name, Rich CELENZA. I also have a LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter page as well. And like I mentioned earlier, I have a Mastering Self-Confidence program. You could just go to masteringselfconfidence.com. It's a website there. And I help men try to find the woman or women of their dreams. I'm also into helping men with fashion, hygiene, and fitness. Yeah, and if you go to my website too, Rich CELENZA, you'll be able to find all different things regarding what I'm up to. All right? And I love helping people more than anyone else, or more than anything else. And I hope I don't offend anybody. And if I do, truthfully, I don't give a shit at the end of the day. It's just who I am. And that's it. All right. Take care. And if you're traveling, safe travels.